Hello and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Creatives. I'm Maddox.
And I'm Dwight. We're the connections and community that we are the connections and community guys. And today we are joined by our featured guest, Tony Hale III. Welcome, Tony.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here.
Glad to have you. So let's dive right in. First, before we really get into the question and answer part, Tony, we're going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself because we're quite sure that you could do a more thorough job of that than we can do. So tell, in just a minute or so, tell the audience and tell us who you are, what you're about, whatever you'd like to say.
Perfect, perfect. As mentioned, everyone, my name is Tony Hale III. I am a professional actor currently residing in the Dallas, Texas area. I grew up, born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. I moved here to Dallas in August of 2024 from Nashville, Tennessee, which I resided in for about 3 years. And just a little bit about my academic background. I graduated from the University of Tennessee with a bachelor's in business and graduated from Georgetown University with a master's in IT. So that's a little bit about my academic background, a little bit about me. Let's see, for those, I'm sure everyone who's going to watch this, you know that I have a huge knack for the performing arts. I love the performing arts. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. So it's great to be here. Great to engage in conversation with these gentlemen and hopefully provide some gems that could, encourage everyone and, help someone too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, my first question, Tony, is, and sometimes we just start in the middle and then go to the other ends, but
mhm,
to date, in your creative journey, your creative career,
mhm,
what is the thing that you feel most proud of right now? Because we're in the middle of the story. We hadn't gotten to the end of the story right now.
mhm. You know, I'm proud of the fact that everyone is enlightened by the presence that I give off, by the energy that I give off in pretty much every room that I walk into, right? And when I first got back into acting, I had no idea where I was going to go. And these past 3 years since I've been on the TV and film side, I recently learned that I've motivated so many people. I got so much love and so much respect from a lot of people in the industry, and I'd say that that's a very proud thing. Motivating people and giving them something to look up to is something that I always strive to, promote out here in this world because we got enough negativity already, and I try to, walk in a different type of light. I try to be different than the stereotypical norms that we're used to in this industry, really the world, honestly. So I try to be different and I try to, stand on business, unlike most people who stand on it a different way. So I just try to be a different example, and the enlightenment and the happiness that I bring to people on set and pretty much everywhere I go is a thing that I'm the most proud of. So,
I love what you're saying. It makes me think of a very wise person many years ago said to me, don't try to be the best. There's only one spot for the best.
mhm,
Try to be different, try to be unique. And that's what I'm hearing you say.
absolutely,
You're looking at all the industry people around you, and instead of being the sheep or being the clone, as we call it,
mhm,
you are cutting your own path and doing it your way.
absolutely, absolutely.
Now, when you say, when you're talking about having a positive impact on people,
Mhm,
are you talking about the behind the scenes things when you're on a movie set or a project, the conversations that you have, the way you treat people? Or is it more about the characters that you play and the way you embody those characters, the way you take your craft seriously? Or maybe it's both, but I'd love to hear more about that.
It's definitely both. So I'm gonna kind of reiterate on the first part that you had spoke about. So when I'm on every set, so here's the thing about my craft and my personality, right? On set. I never come in angry. I always bring great vibes and great energies on set. I don't treat people like they're less than. Like if I'm the lead or like a supporting character in a film, I interact with everybody. I interact with the crew. I interact with the extras. Because at the end of the day, we're all required to make this excitement, to make this project. So without the extras, without the crew people, we don't have a movie. And I understand how it feels to be small because when I got into this, when I got on the TV and film side, I understood what it was like to feel small, right? Because I did do some extra roles and all, and I understand. And so I never want to give this idea that I don't remember how it feels to be small, because I do. And so I always thought that there was no need to always come with such negative energy and such a bad attitude, which is something that I see quite often on film sets, right? So, me, I'm not like that. Anyone you talk to, almost everyone that you talk to is going to tell you that Tony is an awesome dude to be around. Energy is always well. He's never stuck up or anything like that. Now, for my characters that I play, one thing about all of the characters that I play is that I'm very particular and I'm very strategic, right? I play characters that I know I can portray to my utmost ability. And if I cannot portray those characters to my utmost ability, I more than likely will not accept the role. So I want people to feel and I want people to understand what it is that I'm trying to convey, the messages that I want to send in those characters, and what I want people to realize is that I don't play a lot of stereotypical characters. I play characters that that resemble power. Like for example, I played a period piece of a very prominent character. I love playing period pieces. I love playing dramas, comedies, and everything. So each character is a representation of they are a representation of my art, of my true artistry, and my ability to really get the messages across the way I want, if that makes sense. So
I've always read that Johnny Depp is very much like that. He's very particular about the characters that he plays and turns down a lot of jobs. And I've always admired that about him. Um, that's the high road because a lot of people just take whatever pays the paycheck.
right, right.
They get a role, and even if it's a bad role, they take it because, it's a job.
hmm Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong at all. There is nothing wrong with making money for doing something that you love to do. Just don't let that be the only thing that you're after. Like you have to be after more than just that, right? Because for me, I care about telling a great story. I care about telling a great story and having my audiences just wow by the performances that I put on. That means a lot more to me than money at times, right? Because you could pay me probably 500,000 to do a project, but if I'm going into the movie theaters and then you got everyone watching my stuff and then they say it's terrible or this is bad or they walk out, that's gonna make me feel some type of way. So
Mm,
I don't like feeling like that.
I
So
get it.
yeah. Mhm.
You take real pride in what you do. My situation was very, very different, but wasn't fame or anything. But I had my own salon for 40 years,
Mhm.
and I cared more about the people than I did my paycheck. And they would ask for a service that I didn't think was good for them or right for them, and I would turn them down. I would say, no, I won't do that.
Mhm.
So I really respect what you're saying there. I
Mhm.
want to backtrack for a minute. You talked about the other side of it, the treating people on set as they were equals, treating them with kindness, respect.
Mhm.
Where did that come from? What's the root of that? I mean, I know you said that you had been in positions where you weren't treated you as good as you could have been. You were the the extra in the movie and didn't feel like you were the equal. But I'm wondering, is it deeper than that? Where's the root of that?
You know, I came up in a pretty harsh environment. There were a lot of mean people around me. I dealt with a lot of that, and to be honest, I guess I always aimed to be better than that. And plus, the man who helped raise me, he was a kind guy, a very kind man. He was really my best friend. And I always watched him. I watched how he treated people, and I watched how he went about things. And he taught me that right is nothing but right and wrong is nothing but wrong. And growing up, I was taught that I'm not responsible for how others treat me. I learned that early on, like in my early teen years, but I'm responsible for how I treat others, not how they treat me. And so a lot of the mean people I came up around, I did not like them. And I guess that's kind of why I'm like that. Like, I don't want to, like, there's no reason for me to be a mean person, So it kind of stems from the things I saw, and it just stems on how I was raised and taught. So normally when you experience and you see certain things in your childhood, it normally trickles over into adulthood. But me, I'm always aiming to be better. I'm always aiming to set a great example, right? And were times in my life where I struggled to do that because I'm human. I'm a human being. And so a big thing that I did last year to help myself a lot more was go to therapy. And therapy made me a lot more grounded. It helped me understand a lot more about myself as a person, as a man, you know, because my experiences last year led me to that. So yeah, I think that pretty much, yeah, I think that answers the question. Yep.
Wow, you get you're a walking anomaly, don't you? I mean, you definitely are not running with the sheep. You're doing life on your terms.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been around the block a few times, and although there are some men that will go to therapy, the vast majority are, that's not, I mean, you got to talk about what's going on inside of you, and we're not wired that way, most of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that, oh, I tell you, nowadays I'm more vulnerable and more open than I've ever been before. Like and that's something that I did not do last year, like earlier last year. But as a man, I've had to swallow my pride and I've had to just be honest with myself. Like, bro, like you need to get to the bottom of some things, man. Like you do. And going to therapy was probably one of the best things I ever did in my life. The best thing I could have ever done. And it led me to the conclusion that I am human. I am a human being and I can make mistakes, and I should never be condemned for making mistakes that are not life-threatening, that are not harmful to people. And yeah, I think it's important for all men to do. And I'm telling all men now that um you do not have to feel bad. You do not have to feel less of a man because you want to get help. You want to talk to someone. You should never feel that way. I don't care what the world says. I don't care what any of that means. Um, Men have feelings, and men have the right to talk to someone, and at times they have the right to cry too. So I've done that, and
I
that's
think
okay.
I think our world would be a better place if we could get the masses of men just to talk about what's going on inside of them.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'm thankful that you have come here and shared that, because I'm sure that there are men who are listening that need that permission.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
So
are right.
vulnerability is one of my favorite topics. I could talk about it every day. I would like to know, as you lean into this vulnerability, how has it impacted your creative journey?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, you know, acting on set believe it or not, I'm a lot more vulnerable when I'm playing characters. Well, let me take that back. When I was the back then before I started my healing journey, I was more vulnerable with my characters, like being vulnerable, like acting in those characters than I was being like vulnerable as Tony. And the reason why it was like that was because acting was a form of therapy for me. It's still a form of therapy, right? Because that was my escape. You know, like playing roles like a narcissist. I'm not saying that I'm a narcissist or I have that in me, but sometimes, you know, it felt good to let it all out. You know, when I'm playing in like a drama role or something, right? There are roles where I've had to be very emotional. You know, that emotion is there, but Tony doesn't know how to let it out. But that character, you know, Jasper or Brian or anything like that, I don't have to be Tony in that moment. I can be something totally different, you know? So that was my way of that's how it kind of trickled into my creative side, if that makes sense.
I get that that would almost be safer
Very
because you're
sad.
in character. It's like the straight men who play gay roles.
Mhm.
That might not be as safe in real life, might not be as comfortable or safe, but in a role, they're able to do it with ease. You see it all
Mhm.
the time.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Would you say that, okay, go back because you're headed that direction, but let's go back to that question. How has that vulnerability as you've leaned in, because you started off being vulnerable in your characters, then you got into
Mhm.
therapy, and now you're bringing your vulnerability into your everyday life and into your career. How's
Mhm.
that changed things? How's that changed your experience?
It's changed a lot because I'm more because now as a man, like I'm not afraid to be open. You know, I'm not afraid, like I'm not closed off anymore. You know, when I go on dates with other women and stuff like that, you know, I can it's a lot easier for them to communicate with me now because I got that help because I'm vulnerable, right? And it's easier for me to communicate with them. And so it's changed for me in a lot of ways because now, because as men, we're very prideful. We're very prideful, and some of us have egos, and it's hard for us to be open about certain things. And I don't have that feeling anymore. I mean, of course, I got a little bit, but it's not to the point to where I'm closing off everything and everybody, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so, so I definitely feel that it's making my friendships and my relationships a lot more, you know, stronger. It's making it easier for me to be, you know, open. And that's something that I couldn't do before. I
I
could not
love that.
before. So
Do you find that as you step into that vulnerability, it draws a different kind of human to you?
yeah, I think so, and I also think it draws. I also think it draws in different experiences, right? Like, for example, um, I I stepped away from Christ like a while back, right? Like I wasn't going to church. I pretty much forgot who God was and all, and so I wanted to get my faith back strong again, and I was able to do that. And because I was vulnerable and I got the type of help that I needed, I was able to establish a stronger relationship with God. And so I'd say that that's one example. Hmm.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. So
I
yeah.
know that I know that it had to be a real shift, moving to this place of being more vulnerable and open.
Mhm.
Um, and I love the way that you were kind of walking back how, you got a little bit of ego, um, but we got to acknowledge that we need some of it to protect us. You know, it's
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. You definitely need that. Right, right. And um this is the thing that I'm so thankful for. I'm so thankful for this because um I used to handle conflict a bit differently than I do now. And the reason why I had to go to therapy was because of a conflictual amount of situations that had transpired with me last year. Now, I went through a lot last year and my whole world just melted down, right? And, there were people who I thought I could trust. There were people who came in and made that happen, right? Now, unhealed version of me would do everything in his power to get back at people for doing such things, right? But I don't even want to do that. I don't have to do that, because and the people that watch this part, they're really gonna know that I have grown a lot, but I don't see a need to bash anybody. I don't see a need to, do things that are vengeful at all because there is no point. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and I believe that part of me growing and just letting things run its course is a prime example of me growing. A very big example. So, you know, and I'm letting people know that I am healed. Um, I am great. I am happy. I am proud. And it just is what it is. Things happen for a reason. So,
Well, you're kind of back to talking about kind of setting some of the ego aside a little bit, aren't you?
mhm,
It's a never ever changing thing. It's like a continuum and it vacillates back and forth from one end to the other. That part, that ego that wants to protect us also wants revenge when somebody does us bad. And so, yeah, it's learning to navigate that is it's one of the more challenging things that we do as men.
absolutely.
So I'd love to go back to the beginning. I would love to hear what was the first hint that you had that you were creative.
Oh, that's a great question. So, let me dive into how it all started, right? When I was a kid, I didn't really care too much about all the sports and stuff like that. I just didn't care about it much. Like that's what everybody wanted to do. Everybody wanted to be Jordan. Everybody wanted to be LeBron and all that stuff there. But me, I always wanted to be my own individual, my own person, my own self. So when I was growing up, I loved movies. I loved the movie theater. I always watched old movies with my great grandfather every day. We watched different movies all the time, from Walker the Texas Ranger, which is a very old show before my time. Just that's something that I always loved. And I remember growing up, I was probably like 8 or 7 years old at this time. Will Smith came out with the movie I, Robot at that time, and I loved it. And that's when I knew, you know what, I want to be an actor. I want to do this one day, right? And so that's what really, so all of the things I've seen as a boy, all of the things that I saw on television, it stuck with me. And that's what made me want to get into the movies instead of, sports and all that other stuff, right? I didn't really care for all that. And so when I got to high school, I remember I needed to get an elective class. I needed an elective, and the ones I wanted, they were taken. And the only one that was left was like theater, right? I didn't really want to take theater because stage just I just didn't want to do it. They told me I had no choice, and so I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then that's when I met the teacher. I still stay in contact with her to this day, Dr. Nyambi Webster. doctorate from Drake University had encouraged me to take acting serious because she saw something. She saw something that I didn't even see. And so that's when I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a try. And so I remember I did my first stage play, and it was a full house. It was so many people in there. And I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? I've been rehearsing, I've been prepping, I've been doing everything. Went out there, I killed the performance, the applause and the people. That's when I knew I definitely have a future in acting. And so from there, I did more stage plays. I did acting competitions and such, and auditioned for different things and all that as a kid. And when I got to college, I took theater classes and such to kind of, build upon what I've already learned and done. And 3 years ago was when I decided that I wanted to take it to different heights. I wanted to take it to screens now, and um my first gig was on TV One. That was my first gig, and since then I've done a plethora of film projects, from period pieces to dramas to comedies to commercials and music videos and everything. And so um and that's pretty much all she wrote. And I still got a lot going on. So just staying busy, loving art, and just taking things day by day.
I
You
love
know,
the
there,
way it goes full circle. Just when we were talking about your, well, the things that you came to by way of therapy, where you were able to just have the lightness that comes from forgiveness. You
Mhm,
said everything happens for a reason,
mhm,
and
mhm.
I could see, when you had to take that theater elective, you didn't want to, but you leaned into it. And once again, everything happens for a reason.
no
Everything
coincidences. Yeah, no
else.
coincidences. Coincidence.
Absolutely. And I want people to understand that, um, people come into our lives for good reasons. And I still stay in contact with her to this day. I actually played a part in we were in a movie together last year, and I was able to convince the creator of that movie, like, hey, you should get her. She's the one that taught me everything. So she
Well,
should play this part. So that was a proud moment for me because I felt like that was an example of me giving back, to her for what she gave to me. And that was the happiest thing I could have ever, done. So Doc, if you see this video, thank you so much. Mhm.
I think it's amazing that you knew at age 7 you wanted to act. I
Mhm.
mean, we all had something we wanted to do at 7 or 8 years old, but how many of us actually did it? It's a rare thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's very rare. And I had no idea that I would be acting as an adult. I had no clue that was gonna happen. I had no idea that I would ever even have made it this far. You know, some things that we do in life and try, we may not ever do well in, but we're doomed if we never try. Had I never tried, I would have never known that I had the potential to do great things in this area. So I think that we owe it to ourselves to take those risks,
To say yes,
to say yes.
even to
Mhm.
the things that we don't think we want to do, like taking a stage acting class in high school.
Right, right. Exactly, exactly. So I do agree.
So I'm going to ask another question that I think will be interesting to our listeners because this really is, we may have all kinds of people that listen, but I suspect most of our listeners are other creatives,
Mhm.
people that are going through their own journey and their own challenges and their own successes. And um, creatives, we have a unique situation because oftentimes we lead dual lives.
Mhm.
We have our craft that we do, and our goal oftentimes is to do that full time to support ourselves that way, but it doesn't always work out that way. And oftentimes to get there, we have to have yet another life, a job, as so many people love to refer to it as a real job. And I hate that,
Mhm.
because acting is a real job.
Mhm.
Art is a real job. If you
Yes.
do something and you love it, it is a real job.
Mhm.
But is there a dual thing going on for you, or are you acting full time?
There is a dual thing going on with me. There are two passions that I've always had in life: acting and business. And I work for a Fortune 500 company. I work for Microsoft, and I do work with them a lot. Probably one of the most rewarding experiences I could ever have as a professional. So on the side, I work as a business professional. I've been doing that for the past 5 years, and yeah, that's my that's my second love. Like technology was my second love, and it's very rewarding. I do my education is always going to be one of the most proudest things that I could have ever accomplished in life, and I'm going to use it without a doubt. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having two um, two passions in your life, and that's okay.
Oh
That is,
my gosh, I think we should have as many as we want.
I
But
think you should.
I also think it's very rare to have what you have. I mean, not interview, I hate that word. We have conversation with a lot of people, and many of them have, their craft and then some type of a day job or day work. And oftentimes that day job is not something that feeds their soul, or that they love to do. It merely puts food on the table and a roof over their head and funds the supplies and the things to do their craft, whatever that looks like.
Mhm.
Um, you're unique. I have yet to talk to anybody that loved both gigs the way you're describing loving
Oh,
both gigs.
absolutely, absolutely.
Now, how much of that do you think just kind of happened, and how much of that do you think was very intentional on your part? Like you set out to do that, and this is something you have achieved. I have two passions. I have two professions that I'm in that I love and feel passionate about. Was that all intentional? Was that the plan?
That was always the plan. When I was as a kid, you know, I knew that I wanted to do something in the academic realm as well, because even at a younger age, I knew that I had to be realistic about things, right? Like there are times where you just have to be realistic about life. And I knew that I had to push myself to a greater height when it came to, you know, when it came to balancing my creative career and my other career. I don't like to say my acting career and my job, because I have two careers that I'm in. So
Language is important.
Yes.
yes, yes. So I have two careers and I have two passions. When I was when I was like 16 years old, I had my very first job in high school, right? And I worked as a bag boy at Kroger's. And believe it or not, that was a very interesting experience for me. And it was an experience I'll never forget. But I did not like it. I did not like doing that work. I had stand up all day, push baskets in the cold and all that stuff there. And when I was doing that for about probably a month, when I was doing that, um, I knew that I did not want that to be my future. If I was going to chase a creative career or anything like that, I'm not going to be doing this and then focusing on that one, right? So if it's going to be something that I work, it's going to be something that actually treats me with dignity and that actually pays me pretty damn well. So that's when I knew, okay, I'm definitely going to put a lot more time into two passions, business technology and acting. So that's when I came to that conclusion. And part of part of that drive that I had came from a lot of the doubt, not the doubt that I had for myself, but the doubt that other people had for me. Because when I had got let go from that terrible job I had at the grocery store. I got let go, and it just was what it was. And word got out around school and all that stuff there. And there were some people that kind of gave me hell about it. You know, they were questioning me, like, why did you get why did you get fired? How did you get fired? Like, what, like, are you insane or are you stupid? And then I was thinking to myself, wow, like these idiots really think that working there was going to be my future. They actually thought that. That's right. Like I'm laughing, just I laugh a lot now just thinking about it. And so that's when I knew I had to strive for more than one thing. I had to have more than one passion for myself. And it was a way of being realistic, if that makes sense. So
Makes perfect sense. Very, very strategic. That's pretty amazing.
mhm.
I mean, you definitely have a unique story. I've not heard anything that comes close to this.
Yeah. I know that it must be demanding to meet the demands of both at times. How do you stay well resourced?
Oh, definitely um uh, being organized. Yeah, and I struggle with being organized. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm terrible at being organized because I got so many things going on at once. I got people pulling me in that direction. I got people pulling me in that direction. And um over the past couple of years, it was hard to manage that. Because there were times where I got sick. There were times where people just always blowing up my phone like, Tony, I need you to do this for me. I need you to do that for me. Can you come here on this set? Can you come here on that set? It was so much of that going on that my health was taking a toll. Like, I tell people, like, bro, I can't. Look, I appreciate the opportunity, but I can't do it. It's I'm tired. I need rest, you know. And then there is my corporate career. That's actually not that hard to manage. That's not as hard to manage because I'm only working for a set amount of hours a day, right? So and I think one of the benefits that came out of COVID was remote work. So it makes it a lot easier to balance everything, right? And working for an amazing company like Microsoft, they support our goals and our aspirations outside of work. So with Microsoft, it definitely makes it a lot easier to do, right? Because they want us to have a life, they want us to do different things, and also um, I'm still working to become more organized, and I've been doing a pretty good job at it. But does it work for both of my career's sake? Yes. But does it have an effect on my does it have an effect at times? Almost definitely. It does. But it's a work in progress.
I want to say maybe the first coach that I ever worked with said to me, if you want to be successful in business and in life, create systems that support you, simple
Mhm,
systems that support you. And I have spent, well, that was decades ago, to be real honest.
mhm,
That was 2006, so almost 20 years ago. And I've
mhm,
spent that 20 years and symptoms, I mean, the systems can look almost any way. Dwight will tell you that I have a system for folding the chip bag down so the chips don't get stale. I've
mhm,
taken it to kind of an extreme, but yes, there's alarms on the phone. There's a variety of just crazy stuff where I track stuff, and I have systems on the computer that help me keep track of, I mean, this podcast. Oh my God, just a single episode, there's a gazillion steps that have to be taken to process and publish one episode. I would never ever be able to do that if I didn't have a really solid system in place.
Well,
Mhm.
we also have the community within each other. So there are a lot of steps, but we also share the responsibility. Like I do the promotion for the for everything that we do for the podcast.
Yes,
Mhm.
we divide and conquer. I do the publishing part of the podcast, and he does the promotion part of it.
Mhm.
And that's where our strengths are. I'm strong in the production part, publishing, and he's much stronger in the promotion, and it works. And I don't think what we knew it was going to unfold that way when we started it, but it certainly has gone that way, and it works really well. He doesn't bother me. He lets me do the my thing with the publishing, and I don't much bother him. I let him do his thing with the promotion.
Mhm.
But yes, systems are, you know,
Very
whether
important.
whether it's timers or an app on your phone or something, systems are the best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are right about that one. And reminders are too.
Yeah.
Reminders, even AI. It's very helpful.
Yes, I'm leaning in. In fact, I've been in a summit this week, learning how to utilize AI more effectively. It's been a little bit overwhelming, so much information all at once, but good stuff.
It's a lot.
Um, let's talk about perhaps, well, I kind of want to know the one thing we haven't touched on so far is in all of this that you've done, the two passions, the way that you very intentionally set this all up. I want to know, how has community played a role in all this? And I'm going to qualify that or quantify that or whatever the right word is, clarify that, one of those things. Um, community can mean a lot of different things. Community happens when there are two people together, two or more. And I believe that we have lots of communities in our lives. Our family can be one of the communities. Our coworkers can be another community, or our work life, that can be a community. Maybe we, you talked about therapy. Maybe you do some group therapy, and now you've got a little community of people that are in your therapy group, but I think that, you know, and all those communities play a role, most likely in your creative process. But have you had any interaction or involvement in some community that is centered around creativity?
Absolutely. Oh yes, most definitely. My so I'm gonna touch on this in this way. My stomping grounds are in Nashville, Tennessee. I've definitely had my downs being there, and I've definitely had my ups. And I got to give thanks to a lot of individuals who supported me, who believed in me while I was there. Individuals like Cynthia Trice, who gave me my first short film opportunity. Ben Oaks, who gave me my first commercial. The Kanan Cox, who put me in his first music video. People like him and who else? There's a lot of people who and I just can't think of Talisha Walker, a lot of people, those are just some of the individuals who believed in me, who have always believed in me. And that is a prime example of community. I gotta also give thank you to the Atlanta film community as well. I gotta give thanks to TNT Productions. I gotta give thank you to B. Daniel Watkins and so many other people. My agent Stephanie Olson. Those people, that community, even here in Dallas. I haven't been here that long, but the community here is so amazing and so tight knit that there are so many people that believe in me to do the they believe in me to portray roles to the utmost ability because they've seen it, they know it, they don't have to blink. If I give Tony this chance, Tony's gonna do it. Tony's gonna kill it. I got nothing to worry about. So now I will say that even though you have community, doesn't mean that everybody's a part of it, right? So like I do have instances like that too. I gotta touch on that. One of the things I learned is that just because you're doing well, just because you got a great community, doesn't mean everybody else is gonna like you or everyone else is gonna want to see you win. I've had instances like that. I've had instances where like there are some communities that do not have structure. They don't have a family oriented or tight knit structure, and I've been a part of those at times. And there are times where I've had to distance myself from those. But you have those too. You have to do a great job at picking your right people, and you have to do a great job at inserting yourself into certain communities because not everybody's going to be for you. One of the things that I learned about this industry in particular is that there is a lot of favoritism. There is a lot of pretty privilege. There is a lot of things that go on under the table that you sometimes cannot see. But this industry, when you see something, believe it. When you hear something, don't be so quick to believe it, but definitely don't ignore it. Because that's just how some communities are. Some communities are manipulative. Some communities use you to build blueprints for people that are already established. That kind of thing happens. And I'm saying this because I want creatives to understand something is that you are your biggest believer.
Mm.
You are your biggest advocate. Never, ever, ever let someone put um never let someone put a dollar, don't let them put a dollar on your word. You decide that. I always decide that. There are people who know better when they contact me or they reach out to me about certain things. They know better. They know not to they know not to call Tony about that because they know Tony's not going to do it. So
No, you've set boundaries.
I definitely set boundaries, and in the beginning, I wasn't like that. I wasn't like that at first because I didn't have the portfolio that I have now. I didn't have the reach that I have now, and I didn't have the amount of power that I possess now. I didn't have that at first, but once you get that, you have to let certain people understand, like, hey, listen, I appreciate you for sending this opportunity my way, but given the circumstances and given everything that I have noticed and seen, someone else may be a better fit for this, not me. Because if the value is not there, you don't really want to make something great.
You
That's
know,
a that's a great knowledge bomb right there. And I love the way it circles back to how you were so intentional about carving your path
Mhm.
and making sure that you did things that were in alignment with where you wanted to be.
it
Exactly.
is definitely a wisdom and knowledge bomb. There is something very empowering about being able to take the jobs you want and turn down the jobs you don't want. Or, in my case, it was work with the clients that I wanted to work with and not work with the clients that I didn't want to work with. I think one of the biggest injustices that we do to ourselves is take a job or take a client that's not a good fit for us.
Mhm.
When you're young and hungry, you do that shit, but there's a point where you realize that's not good for me. And if I'm gonna go the whole enchilada, I gotta pull back and only do good stuff that's good for me.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I turn down opportunities. You guys just don't know. I turn down opportunities all the time.
You know,
Oh,
on some level, Tony, that makes you more desirable
hmm
because when you take every job, that smells like desperation. And people, when they smell that desperation in that moment, whether it's a relationship or a job, you become less desirable.
hmm
People are not attracted to desperation. They're
Yeah.
No,
just not.
Yeah, it doesn't smell good.
it
Does
doesn't.
not smell good.
And
We,
there are a lot of actors that do that. Because they're just trying to make it and you can't be mad at them. But honestly, I care a lot about my craft and I care a lot about my viewers and I don't want and nothing I have done is bad. I have not been in a bad project. Everything I've done is performed to its best ability. It's not. I can't put trash on. I cannot do trash. I can't do anything. I can't do too many stereotypical parts. I can't do it. I gotta have I gotta have versatility. And that's kind of why, and I have to give myself a pat on the back for this one, but I have made it extremely difficult to typecast me because I've been in so many different genres and people know that like you can't keep me in one area. You can't do that. And so one of the things I learned from watching Will Smith as a kid was that this guy can do any role. He can act like anybody and that's when I was telling myself, okay, you know what? I got to do it like he's doing it because he's not just doing anything. He's taking roles that are a challenge. And I tell people, if your project is not a challenge to me, I'm not doing it. If it's
that's a rare talent and a gift, I think. You know, we see actors that they kind of act the same in each role.
Mhm,
Doesn't matter what movie they're in, it's kind of their character that they do, male and female. I see it all the time. And then there are those, certainly like Will Smith, who can be so completely different in every role that you don't even, if you closed your eyes, you know, you wouldn't recognize him at all because he's so different. He may look the same, but um, well, we're kind of running a little bit low on time. So in a nutshell, and then we'll get on to our rapid
Rapid
fire
fire
questions.
questions.
In a nutshell, what's your next step?
mhm. um, well, I can say this. I do got a couple of projects that are coming out this year. I got some stuff that I'm working on now. I'm working on something this weekend, actually. I'm working on something next weekend. And let's just say what is to come. I think people are going to be very, very, very intrigued by what they see from me. And I think personally, professionally, and everything else that I'm gonna make my mark in the film world without a doubt.
You know, you're really reminding me of something right now. I've been in this conference all week long, listening to all these gurus, and yesterday one of them said that you've got to, when you get in front of people, you have to ditch the humility.
Mhm,
He said, I'm a very humble person, but when I'm marketing myself and when you're, marketing is different for you. When you're marketing, it's going to auditions, it's showing up in public places and being seen. Here you are in this conversation and you are owning who you are. You know,
mhm,
he said, ditch the humility and be bold. Now, he said, I'm not telling you to be, you know, ego driven and maniacal or well, that's not the word
mhm,
I'm looking for. I make words up. Anyway, egomaniac or boastful or that, but be bold, and you definitely have that going on, and that I think works massively to your favor. And I wanted to call that out and say that because that applies to any of us, whatever your creative endeavor is. Boldness is going to be where that will get you the rewards that you're looking for. Bold. I have a little necklace around my neck that I made, and on it, it's a ring with it's stamped. And it says audacity because that's what I am working on, being audacious in my life, because I know that those that step up and make bold moves are the ones that get what they want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. So I just tell people, and you guys just stay tuned for a lot more.
Well, and just so the listeners know, Tony will have a profile in the show notes of this episode, so you can cruise his profile, probably see social media links there if you want to follow him. Um, this has been amazing. I really enjoyed the conversation and learning so much about you, Tony.
No
And
doubt.
now, if you're ready, we'll get to some rapid fire questions.
Let's
And
do
these
it.
are easy. These are easy peasy.
Mhm.
Number one, who's a creative role model you look up to?
I got two of them. One is an A-list actor, and that would be Will Smith. Two is the woman that taught me acting, Dr. Webster. She's the other person that I looked up to. That's the person that taught me everything I know about acting.
Beautiful. Next question. What's the best decision you've ever made in your creative career?
I would have to say I've made I have two of them. One was choosing to expand my horizons out of Nashville. And I say that because I'm in Atlanta, I'm in Nashville, I'm in Dallas, I'm in Texas, I'm in multiple different markets now. So really just um creating a divide and expand type of strategy. And two was going to therapy.
I,
Mm,
I love that. Yeah,
I love that too.
I'm reminded of how it is that when you plant a tree in a pot, it's limited to the confines of that pot.
Mhm.
You got to put it in the ground for it to really reach out its roots and expand so that it has a chance to really take hold and be firm and get strong and live for a long time.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Great metaphor, Dwight. And final question. What's one lesson you've learned from your creative community?
I'll tell you one lesson that I learned that I don't want to commit as a creative, and that is being a two-faced person. I've seen a lot of that. That's not how I roll. That's not how I am. That's one thing I learned not to do. I can't say that yeah, that's one thing I learned not to do because there's a lot of things about this in industry that you can learn, but I think there's a ton of things that that people ignore, and that's the things, and those are the things that you shouldn't do, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So it's not something they taught you like, oh, let us teach you this, Tony. It was something they taught you by you just observing the general behavior. I call those backhanded learning lessons,
mhm.
backhanded teaching. Yeah. Love it, get it, and love it completely.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Well, this has been a complete joy. I've really enjoyed hearing about your story and finding out more about you. Thank you so much for your contribution to the podcast and to all of our listeners.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tony. We're glad that you joined us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I hope everyone enjoys this and learns something from it. And yeah. Mhm.